Then there's the crash at Plaisance, the plane coming out of the skies into the lady's house. So you never know where the fire is coming from. But I want you to be aware of these 6 main reasons for fires, right? And try to do your utmost to acquaint persons in your area, in your business, in your school, the school your children go to. A fire could easily occur there. Church, anywhere people congregate, we would appreciate. Now, if you need more posters and you tell us what you need it for, we will be glad to let you have more posters, right? So this is a community effort sort of thing, and thank you. I'm asking for your full cooperation. Now, let me give you some statistics from the fire department. For this year, end of July, the fire department received 1,500 calls, fire calls. Fortunately, not all of them were disastrous. Some of them were bushfires and so on. But over 200 were actual buildings on fire. Another negative development is that 10% of these fires were arson. People either burning down their own house or they have an argument or to claim from insurance, whatever. But 10% are arson related, right? And that's significant. Now, the Guyana Fire Service is saying also, I had a chat with the gentleman yesterday, that so far this year they responded to fires in region 4, 5, 6, with the Guyana Relief Council catering for 250 victims of fire. As I said, fire-related situations use up most of our resources, financial resources. But the thing is, it's preventable, and therefore we are really wasting a lot of money here, right? Remember that the illustration you're looking at comes from the fire department and their version of the most prevalent reasons for fires. So pay specific attention to it. It's not something we talked up. And GTM must be commended for printing a second batch of these posters. And the Guyana Relief Council is standing by to assist those persons who are victims of fires, right? Now, the good news, according to Fire Chief General, I asked him, what about these high-rise buildings that are being seen around Georgetown, even in the country areas? He said they have equipment now that they can deal with such situations. Not very good, because I was wondering how the fire department is going to reach some of these buildings that I see going up on areas like Sheriff Street and so on. So he says he's got that under control, which is very good, right? Now, there was a meeting of security people just like this, but this happened in another country. Organization called the Council of International Investigators. Now, they would invite people that are worked in specific fields. One of the guys who made his presentation talked about his subject would have been counterfeiting. Well, immediately, most of us thought this had to do with money. He didn't mention money at all, right? Well, he started off with designer items, shoes, handbags, even the ones that opera can't even get examined, right? But the point being that the things that arrested our attention at this meeting were 2 things. One, there's counterfeit fire extinguishers, right? Nowadays, anything that is in demand, you have people who will create counterfeit. So, fire extinguishers is one of the items that are being counterfeited. The other thing that came as a surprise was aviation parts. that is to say, they call it aftermarket. Aviation parts are very expensive. So if you have a plane or planes and you could get something that resembles the real thing, of course you will buy it. Or I think you will buy it. Sometimes planes just fall out of the sky and there's an investigation as to why. Not even experts know why the plane fell out of the sky. I'm just suggesting that could be one of the causes. But you're living in a world here of people who are doing different innovative but dishonest things to get ahead. So you always have to be alert. Now, I would go further and say, one of the things, those of you who are involved in employing people, one of the important things to do is to make background checks. Even if you're dating someone, do a background check, right? Because right now you don't know who the hell is who, right? So, check. Basic security. Now, I'm curious about, but the minister here mentioned giving the police the tools. You mentioned giving the police the tools to do the job. Fine. But in the security business, we run into several situations, and some of it is in the media, so you read about it. We're talking about people who are victims, so-called victims of crimes. And when you examine the facts, you find that the so-called victim in fact created the circumstances which perpetuated the robbery. There was a recent robbery in Kingston, as an example, where the businessman was attacked and he took his handyman with him to the bank. Apparently he has $8 million in his trunk. He takes the handyman with him to the bank. And this is a man that was robbed before, right? On more than one occasion. But he takes this guy and the bandits attack. The guy is shot. He is shot, right? And then the remarkable thing, I know sometimes when things like this happen, people panic. But in this case, this guy didn't panic. Even though he was shot in the head and the guy is next to you, you don't know whether this guy is dead or not, he couldn't know. But he drove to the bank to deposit the money. I mean, he's wounded, the man is dead, he's at the bank, right? And then he discovers that the money is gone. Well, probably went to the hospital. That this preoccupation with saving a few cents when you're losing millions. And the police force, the tools that the minister said he's giving to the police force, is ironic because these people, and there's several of them, there's another guy who, he reports that he lost $4 million in tires, right? And he had it in his bond, truck tires. So his story is he woke up and he went downstairs and he found that the padlock on the barn door was wrenched off. You got $4 million and stuff with a padlock. I mean, what is this? And then you call the police, right? Now the police, our involvement in crime and security, the police are preoccupied to a large extent with crimes that are created by the so-called victims themselves, right? Like these fires are essentially, all of them could be preventable. The crimes and the so-called victims are also people who are setting themselves up. Actually, one of the things that people, I mentioned about background checks, But one of the things that people, and we understand it very clearly, because my colleague here, Mr. Kirkpatrick, and so on, would be able to back me up in the point that one of the main problems we have with private security comes from the fact that the employee, in some cases, the employee either is involved in the crime or sets it up. There was a case where our cameras picked up a guy in a business place, and when we showed the video to the owner, it was his own employee broke into his place. Now there's too much of that type of situation where, but sometimes the victim hasn't created a situation to deter. The systems are faulty. The building is faulty. The entire thing is left to the grace of God. And then when the inevitable happens, you call the police. I think that the police and the fire department could spend their time better in handling situations that could not have been avoided. Crimes that could not have been helped, things like this. More serious situations, not when these people who are categorized as victims create their own situation. And this is something that I'm not going to elaborate on what we can do in the security industry. I think that the colleague here, Mr. Storm, and MP people. But what I'm saying is, a lot of our time is spent babysitting, right? I'll give you another example. There are people who would wire their place alarm systems, which is something I would recommend. However, they would forget to arm the system. And when something happens, they call and say, how come you didn't warn me that this thing was happening? I said, but we can't warn you because you have armed the system. He said, but you were supposed to call me and tell me that I didn't arm the system. How could we do that? Right? How could we call all these people and tell them, hey man, you didn't arm the system? The point is, if we adopt that procedure, it means that we are now exposing ourselves to be responsible for anything that happens on the premises. Right? So, as I said, we do have problems to deal with. I was impressed with the visual presentation of members of the Home Affairs. But attention, and I know we have new equipment in the fire department. We have plans for moving on. But I want emphasis placed on letting people understand that they have to start taking care of themselves and their property, and not trying to think that because you have a guard outside or you have a security system, you're now running free. Because you're not. The thing is, people always plan. Always plan. We started out as a security company decades ago, protecting our clients from the forces without what used to be the choke and rob guy, the guy kicked down the door. Now, that's almost gone. Right? The crimes are internal. And sometimes the client themselves contribute to this. Let me give you one example. And this has to do with how security guards are conceived by some of the clients. We're at an oil company. The rules are when anything is leaving the compound, it must have a bill of sale. Okay, we understand that. That's one of the rules. A truck pulls up. The guard goes to the truck driver and says, can I get a bill of sale to see what he's taking out? He says, look, the man inside, which is one of the supervisors in the compound, the man inside can bring it out to you. The guy tells, look, I can't. I would admit not all guards like this, right? They tend to be intimidated by what they call the big man, right? The guy inside the vicinity, he said, well, you can't go out until I get to the scene. So he calls the guy inside and he says, the supervisor says, no, let the truck go. He says, I'm not letting the truck go. This is very unusual for a security guard to express his authority. When you leave a guard or guard in charge of property that is worth billions of dollars, and then you treat the guard like a domestic or something like that, you are wasting money, time, because the guard is supposed to have that authority and that respect for management. Anyway, to cut a long story short, he eventually came out of his office with a building. He looked at the guard with disgust. He gave the guard the building, the guard let the truck go. I received a call subsequently. I don't know what he told management, but they asked if I can remove the guard from the gate. Remove the guard from the gate for what? I refused, right? Whatever you want, you could fire us. I don't care. You hire us to do something, we're doing it, and then you tell us to remove the guard. And this is sometimes some of the attitude of people. We have to have, in our industry, we have to ourselves create an atmosphere of more respect for security people. Security people are attacked by bandits, sometimes they're killed. There's a situation here where we have watchmen, and you have security guard. Watchmen are not trained, they're not supervised, they're not uniformed, and the criminal element takes advantage of that and kills them. Sometimes they're geriatrics and so on. Guards don't have exactly the same projection, but disrespect prevails. And I want those of you who are in industry and who have a security situation that includes security guards, then I would like you to let them know that they are respected, because you're putting your entire operation in their hands and they are expected to perform. All right. As I said, I wanted to keep my presentation very basic and non-technical, but the fire alarm, the fire thing, I think is most important. And for those of you who don't need to have your place wired, yeah, can you bring up that? Thank you. These are independent smoke sensors, right? You just stick it in your kitchen or someplace where you know it's likely that you might have a fire, and it will go off when the sun is low, right? And I would recommend, if you don't want to wire your place for alarms, get one of these, right? Now, as we move along, technologically speaking, there's another aspect where our alarm system went off for a house in somewhere in the East Bank. We dispatched a team, and the driver apparently couldn't find the place as early as he could. So he's looking around. He radios the office, they tried to give him direction. Anyway, he found it, and it was a false alarm, nothing was wrong. Then we got a call. The whole family, the entire family was in New York, and the house was left just with an alarm system. So the family's in New York, and we got a call. Well, it was after hours, 2 o'clock in the morning. And the owner said, so I had a tenant come at my house. But they were wondering where you were at. Anyway, it's easy. They said, yes, but everything is okay. First he said, why did you take so long to get to my house? So they were wondering again, how he knows that? So they said, well, look, the driver had difficulty finding your place. He says, well, that's funny, because I'm looking at my iPad and I see where your vehicle passed my house 3 times. Right? Now they're suffering from shock, right? The point being that some people protect their houses in different ways, and now electronically. You could be in New York, Moscow, and you could have your house monitored, right, by yourself. So there's a basic way of protection, and there's an electronic and visual way. Now CCTV cameras are making a big hit, but I want you to remember something. Cameras are essentially after the fact. When something happens, you go to the camera and you say, this is how it happened. Sometimes you know who did it, sometimes you don't. But the fact is, it's happened already, you've been robbed already, right? So the idea is to have a system where you know what is happening, when it is happening, right? I think essentially I've covered the points I wanted to cover here this morning. Is it morning? Any questions? Well, I would imagine that everybody got their situation under control, right? Well, nobody got their situation under control, I can tell you that. Not fully. You don't know where it's coming from, but always be prepared. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Andres, for that insightful presentation. The president of the Guyana Association of Private Security Organizations, Mr. Randy Storm, to make his presentation on security. Thank you, Mr. Hines. Members of the head table, businessmen, friends, relax. Into several presentations where, when one speaks about the subject, he says in Oxford Dictionary or Wikipedia describes. Well, I'm not going to do that here today, because I know all of you have dictionaries at home and all of you have computers, and you didn't come here for me to tell you what the dictionary says. You can do that yourself. So to define security, I'm going to look at a definition, something you can relate to. And it is here. And it says, simple word, security is a condition achieved when life, property, information, and other resources are prevented from being stolen. And that's what should concern you businessmen. Damage, attack, hack, or otherwise criminally depreciated by would-be criminal elements. Things that you gentlemen and ladies can relate to that will affect your business. However, this also includes tarnishing of the image of your business. Because if actions are taken to tarnish your business and the public loses confidence in you, your business will fold. No one wants to go to any business where he or she has been told they give you short weight. They have weight under the scale. If that news gets around, your business is toast. Now, there are three aspects of security that I consider most important. And these are prevention, and it is better to prevent an incident from happening than to find a solution to deal with that incident. One of the most important, or rather the most important element in prevention are your employees. Make your employees satisfied with their job, with their pay, with their general working conditions. If you have, and Mr. Ambrose touched on that, if you have loyal employees, half of your problems are over. But let me ask you, when last did you speak to your employees about locking doors? Remind them, locking doors. A combination of the safe. Do not tell their friends about it. When last did you say to them, let's make an effort today to see who comes into our business? Please not buy it. Because the would-be criminal does not just walk off the road into business and rob it. He's done his reconnaissance. And I don't know, but probably there's a banditry conference somewhere, like we have a security conference, where they discuss how we're going to go about getting through. Because I tell you what, no thief will take a chance if he knows he will die. No thief will take a chance if he knows he or she may spend the rest of their lives in prison. When last did you walk around Lombard Street in the vicinity of where the old GNCB Bank used to be? Look to the east when you walk down that road and you see some men with rifles, automatic shotguns. Well, you know, they've never had a robbery, and I don't think they're going to have one. Because if you're going there, you recognize quite clearly, I may die. So we have to concentrate on taking measures that will prevent the robbery in the first place. And you know, I spoke about the information and the need to know basis. Because, let's look, Mr. Ambrose spoke about Kingston. I talk about John Jones in the quarantine, who was escorting 4+ million, I think it was 4.5 million, in a car to the bank. The car was intercepted. Now, how did those people on the road know that that car had the money in it? You know what happened? Somebody from the very firm must have known, and you know these cell phones, and they called somebody. They gave the exact time the car left. They gave the description of the car, the color of the car, and they may have also given the quantum of money in the car. Now, we have to keep, and this is very important for you businessmen, we have to keep information only to those who ought to have it. You taking money to the bank, don't tell anyone until the last moment. And then you say, I'm going down Sherry Street, when you're coming down Water Street. Don't even tell the driver until the last moment, go there. I work with bank there, we practice that. You're picking up cash tonight. I'm not telling you where, I'm not telling you when, I'm not telling you the time. And when you take off, you give your instructions at the last moment. That will effectively prevent your employees, and it will be your employees who are dissatisfied and disgruntled. Those are the ones, treat them good. They are your best assets, best effort prevent crime. Don't let them be disappointed. But some of them may not willingly give out the information. One may take a drink at some night spot. And then, hey, boy, you know what happened? Tomorrow, I gotta get the money to the bank, you know, and the man at the next table is listening. So keep that information close to your chest. Let us concentrate on preventing the incident rather than trying to solve it. Let's look at protection. I go back to that same incident in the Corinthian. I am aware, and I see some of the stuff right here, that many of the security companies provide cash transit facility. It's not very expensive. So you take $5-6 million in your car down to the bank, and one of these companies will do it for you for under $10,000. Far, you can misbehave, there's a owner, he says fireless. Fireless. Protect your asset. Not only that, when your money goes into his or Mr. Ambros's armored vehicle, it's covered by insurance. When it's in your car, it's not covered by anything. And look at the cost. Look at the cost. 4 million to under, he doesn't want to say, but he said it's less than $10,000. So for less than $10,000, you protect $4 million. But forget the money. What's the cost of a life? What is the cost of a life? How much do you pay for life? Protect yourself, protect your assets, protect your employees. Let us make every effort to use the facilities that are available. And a lot of them are very inexpensive. And we save ourselves a lot of them. The last one I want to look at is detection. You know what happens? Many times that the money is missing because we do not have procedures in place to check. We don't know until 2-3 weeks after. This is a fact. I heard of a tale someplace where, and some people who will remain nameless, where the money was missing from a house, and they knew 2 weeks after, $9 million. Well, you have to put procedures, and this is for all you businessmen. Whether you want to check daily, whether you want to check weekly, whether you want to check twice daily, you put your internal procedures in place to ensure that you know when something is stolen. You see that time span between the time it is stolen and the time it is discovered is very important. I'll tell you a story. I used to be second in command of the battalion in Jamaica, and a weapon was missing. From the time I heard the weapon was missing, I didn't talk to the police. I put a roadblock on the Mary Road, one way, that way, shut down the base, right? Confined everybody. Then I called the chief of staff and said, you know, we got back the weapon. It was found hidden under my trap. They couldn't get it out of the base. Now, if I had discovered that 2 weeks later, where would that weapon have been? So the time span between when the thing is stolen and when you discover it is very important. So if you don't have, and you businessmen, if you don't have those systems and procedures, put it in place. I look at the value of security. Value of security. That's very important. I will insult your intelligence, you can all read. Some people say, I am not spending any money on security because it doesn't produce anything. It doesn't produce anything. It produces the environment. It creates the environment in which your business will be successful. And again, what does it cost? You know, I'll go back to Mr. Ambros's presentation, fire. Many times, the only people that are at the business in the middle of the night, when the fire starts, is the security. I know of several instances where buildings were saved because the security was alert. He made a phone call and then he started to use the fire extinguisher that was on the premises. Now let's suppose there was no security. Those buildings would have gone up. So again, let me look at that definition. Think about it carefully. Remember, it is what it will cost you to replace the way forward. The next slide. The way forward will be different for every particular business. At one end of the scale, you may have an ice cream parlor. At the other end of the scale, you may have a gold and diamond business. You will not have the same type of security at both of them. You have to decide what your business is, the risk to that particular business. Can you afford? I saw them taking pictures. Now, some employees will say, I ain't give a heck, you don't treat people, let it out, please. Those employees who are satisfied will report to the owner, the manager, because they are part of the business, they identified with it, they are treated fairly. In other businesses, like the one in Lombard Street, which is a Cambio, you may need that every firewall. So, each individual, I am not saying to you what you must have. There's a range. There's a guard. There's the armed guard. There are the electronic beams and motion sensors. Cameras. And then you can go to the range where you electronically monitor. You decide what is best for your business. You look at your business, make an assessment of the risk, see what you can afford, and make a decision. You know what? In conclusion, I'll talk about the environment. Our Constitution says the organization that is responsible for the internal security and environment of the state is the Ghana Police Force. If we had a different environment, we would need less security. I have been to countries in the Caribbean where keys are left in cars when you're parked. Try that here. I'm telling you overnight, you know. You leave the keys in the car overnight, and if somebody want to move it to park the car, whatever it's you try that here. I don't think you'll even find the spot where the car was. So, the police is responsible for the internal security environment of the nation. But who is responsible for your environment? The environment of your business? You think about it. Think about it. And I was listening to a television program this morning. I like to watch CNN, I think it's Early Dawn and something like that. And you know, a question was asked here this morning, which I thought was a good question for me to ask you. What is the alternative to having security? You answer that question. I cannot answer that question for you. What is the alternative to having security? In conclusion, I want you, when you go back to your businesses, sit with those employees who were not here and tell them about something you learned, something you heard. What is the purpose, or what purpose would you serve if you come here, you listen to these presentations, you go back home, and then you do nothing? Gather your employees, talk to them. Talk to the other businessmen who are not here. If you can afford one camera at this location, and the other businessman on the other side can afford another camera, you may have interlocking positions. You tell the other businessmen who are not here what they can do. Because I tell you what, if you looked at the chart put up by the Ministry of Home Affairs, I remember clearly Mr. Levi speaking about, or was it a female, areas where incidents take place. If every businessman in your immediate area, in your community, takes all the steps to prevent these incidents from happening, you know what will happen? The man will say, boy, we can't go in there. You know, them boys sharp. It didn't make sense trying to think that. Let us go to the other village, the other part of town where they're careless. So make your attendance here today meaningful by going back, talking to your employees, talking to your staff, talk to the other businessmen who didn't attend. And if you do that, this conference will be a success. Thank you.
For employees, etc. But could that protection be extended to our customers, who are the persons who will bring the money to our banks and to our entities? For example, especially those that come on foot or by vehicles also, with large sum of money. Can that protection or that security be extended to them? Because they are the persons that we all have to.
All right, good, fine. Like I said, the internal security environment is the responsibility of the police. 1. 2. You come with a large sum of money, use cash transit to bring your money. Let Mr. Ambrose and Mr. Kirkpatrick take your money to the bank. You drive and meet them there, right? Now, the other thing that we can do, we can use checks, bank drafts, orders. Credit card is not popular here, but some of us have credit cards. But I cannot speak about what the police should do. You, the individual, you have to make an assessment of the environment, and you businessmen should encourage, but I know that's difficult because a lot of times when you drop the check it bounces, right? But you should encourage your customers to go to the bank. There's a bank in here, what the draft where you pay the money for today? What's the top?
It's called a manager's check.
Good, good. That little box, you can't you can't get a manager's check unless you pay the money for it. So those of us who have businesses and have customers coming with large sums, let us encourage them to get a manager's check. Let us not make the mistake of walking large sums of money. We must advise them. They are our customers, they keep our businesses